Now we are going to start the basic you can say the classification of the organic compounds. So what happened, as you all know, that organic compounds are actually those compounds which are mainly made up of carbon. They contain carbon, they may contain hydrogen, or they may contain some other element also, but the main criteria is that they should contain the carbon. We have already done that carbon actually possesses certain characteristics, certain important characteristics like catenation, tetravalency, allotropy, that makes it so versatile in nature that we get to see so many compounds in nature, and that is why we have a separate branch of chemistry there in which we just study about the carbon and its compounds. So the organic compounds are actually the compounds which are derived from plants and animals, and mainly they are formed of carbon. So make it clear that they may contain some other atom also or element in traces, but it is compulsory that they will contain a carbon atom, right. So here I am going to classify the organic compounds so that you should be familiar that what kind of what subtypes of organic compounds we can classify into, or what kind of compounds with different properties we can found for the organic compounds. So see, this is our organic compound. So I divide this, or it is being actually divided into two categories, that is the open chain and the closed chain, right. So the open chain is actually called as aliphatic, or you can call it as acyclic. You can also call it as acyclic. So we have acyclic or aliphatic compounds, and we have closed chain or acyclic compounds. As the name suggests, I think you got it, that open chain, that means we are going to see only the chains like this. We will be seeing only the chains. These chains can be branched somehow, but they will be only chain, they won't be connected to each other. So all those compounds which are either straight chain or whether they occur in branches, they all belong to the category of the open chain aliphatic, or we can call it as acyclic compounds. And when we get to see the carbon atoms forming a ring like structure, then they fall under the category of the cyclic compounds. Like suppose I have this, right. So this is actually a ring like structure, a closed ring like structure in which the carbon is present. So that structure is actually called as closed chain or a cyclic kind of structure. Now aliphatic hydrocarbon is further divided into two categories depending upon that whether the bonding between the carbon is single, double or triple. As we know that carbon has the property to form a single bond with the other carbon, or a double bond with a carbon, or a triple bond with carbon. So on the basis of that we divide them into two branches, that is the saturated and the unsaturated. Saturated ones are actually called as alkanes. They are called as alkanes, in which there is only single bonding present throughout the chain. But when we talk of unsaturated, they actually are divided into two categories, the alkenes and alkynes, where in alkenes we found that there is at least minimum one double bond is present in a chain, and in alkyne we get to see that minimum one triple bond may be present. And we may encounter a molecule in which the double and triple bond both are present, that actually falls under the category of the unsaturated system, right. So that means it possesses the alkene character also as well as the alkyne. We may found that also, right. So here we classify acyclic into saturated, unsaturated, saturated as alkanes, unsaturated as double bond and triple bond ones, that is the alkenes and the alkynes. And now we move on to the divisions of the cyclic one. So cyclic, as I told you, that there is a ring like structure, right. So there we have a ring like structure. We actually divide it into two types, that is the alicyclic and the aromatic. Alicyclic is that in which the carbon of a straight chain, they are just connected to each other in order to form a ring. Like I will show you. Suppose I have this, in which each corner represent my CH2. So this is actually an alicyclic compound, that is the cyclic ring. And when we talk of aromatic, they, as the name suggests, they have a typical aroma. That means they have a typical fragrance. So when we talk about aromatic compounds, actually they consist of again a ring like structure, and they are further divided into two categories, the benzoid and the non-benzoid. If an aromatic compound contains the benzene ring, now what is the benzene ring? It is the ring of 6 carbons connected to each other with 3 alternate double bond. This is a benzoid. So any compound which carries this kind of ring falls, obviously is an aromatic compound or is a cyclic compound, because there is a closed ring, right? And when you get to see this kind of ring, so it belongs to a category of benzoid. And when there is a ring, but typically not a benzene ring, like we have this thing. This is typically a naphthalene. So it possesses a ring, but it is not a benzene ring, so it is actually called as a non-benzoid compound. So this is how we divide the organic compounds into different one. I think you got it, that when there is a chain, whether branched or unbranched, it falls in the category of acyclic, but whenever you get to see a ring containing a benzene or without benzene or some other ring, it falls into the category of cyclic. Aliphatic further divided into saturated, unsaturated with single bond, double or triple bond. Alicyclic with a closed ring, right? And and this may also contain any other atom in addition to this carbon, right? And aromatic is that which actually contains, if it contains a benzene ring, it belongs to a benzoid like structure, and when it possesses a ring but particularly not a benzene ring, it is a non-benzoid structure. So this is our a basic classification of the organic compounds. So just look at the board, practice it, make a flow chart and just go through it.